It's the Center Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal!
Yes! Yes! Yes, this is my favorite part of the game.
Analyzing all of the league matchups week to week.
You can't win!
Get him a body bag! Finish him!
It is a bit above average.
I said this sucks, and basically so do you.
And discussing the boom, bust, and hidden gem players throughout the league.
We ain't found shit!
What the hell is Brett Favre doing here?
I'm in town to play the Dolphins, you dumbass.
Dan Marino should die of gonorrhea and rot in hell. Laces out.
Touchdown!
And here's your host,
Allow myself to introduce myself.
David Harbatkin. Hello and welcome to the Center Fantasy Football Podcast. For Season 6, we're back. This is a little belated, just like the NFL regular season was, with a delay at the beginning of the game, and this podcast is a little delayed. But I am glad to be joined by our esteemed colleagues. First of all, we have the current commissioner and current champion, I guess, defending champion, coach of the Hackettstown Hagglers, Mr. Gazalutsky.
Greetings, everyone.
And I am joined by the former commissioner, coach of what he said was going to be the Zamunda Lions, but has not gotten around to changing it. But so I guess still current coach of Nicky Baby, Mr. Nick Zaveri.
Yay!
All right, well, so this is going to be a little bit of an odd week, being that well, we already had the Thursday game, so we're going to get a little bit into those games. I mean, the original plan was to do this on Wednesday night, but that didn't happen. And we were going to go over everybody's draft and do a draft grade, basically, of each of the teams, and then look forward to this week's games. We're still going to go back and look at the drafts and see who had a good draft and who had a bad one. And we will look forward to this week's games. We're just going to do it a little with some knowledge of what happened on the Thursday night. So, I don't know. Let's start off with the draft. Is there any teams that stand out? Well, I mean, I guess we could. Do you want to start with the dog shit or the great? Gentlemen.
I'm always good with start with dog shit.
Okay, what teams do we think are dog shit after this draft?
Where do you look that up?
You would go under. I can see we're.
I'm on Yahoo as well. Like, where the fuck did I go?
Yeah, you just go to draft and it goes to draft results. My God, apparently we're. Yeah, this is a.
No, you can't do that.
Yes, you can. Are you looking at it on the computer? We're such a well-oiled machine at this point.
Draft results just gives you like all the players. It doesn't give you the team breakdown of what Yahoo think they did.
Well, then go to.
Hold on. Well, I mean, what you could do. I mean, you could do is you go to your team, go to click on my team, and then it'll take you to your team, and then you scroll next to your name, and it'll just take you through each individual squad.
Yeah, look at these teams and tell me who looks like crap. It's not that hard.
I'm gonna start. I mean, I'm gonna go. I'll take the easy pick here. I'm gonna go with the Black Ice Dynasty. Now, it should be important. We should be fair in acknowledging that LeVar Minor, what the fuck? LeVar Minor was not there for the.
He was auto drafting, and the auto drafting computer.
Yeah, the auto draft does it wrong. So, I mean, as I look at this roster, I mean, I'll start with. I mean, there are some positives. Like, I mean, Tyreek Hill. Forget the fact that he went way too high in his value at the auction. You know, at receiver, Tyreek Hill, Demaryius Thomas, not terrible. I mean, they're projected out to be about 29 total points this week, which isn't bad. At running back, that's when things kind of sort of fall off with Derrick Henry and Kenyon Drake. But Zach, so sexy it hurts. I mean, 9.8 points on Thursday in an ugly game, for the Eagles and Falcons.
I think Ertz will be good if Wentz comes back, and I think he is a good pick.
Right.
I think that's like probably the best on this team he has. But go ahead, continue.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm looking at, well, it's got the Minnesota defense. That may actually carry him quite a bit.
Really? That's what we're talking about at this point? Well,
have you seen his roster? I like, throw me a freaking bone here. It's not pretty.
Well, I mean, he has Alshon Jeffrey, who got him 0 points on his bench.
Well, I mean, and Jeffrey is Jeffrey like Wentz going to be out a few weeks? That Eagles offense.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's out. I'm looking at that. He is out. Sorry.
I think we can all admit that at 18 points against an inept Atlanta offense, that this is what you get, by the way, for keeping Steve Sarkisian as your offensive coordinator, who, in all fairness, had quite a drinking problem at USC, and it seemed to kind of keep on with the booze as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Yeah, I said it. Below the belt.
He says this as he's
hitting below the bottle is what I need to say, but I mean that's terrible. I kind of take it. I kind of want that back.
Aren't you drinking right now?
No. This is what happens when you have kids, though. Like you get your booze in during the party when the kids are playing.
Yeah,
the kids are all running around. You're trying to make sure they don't burn your house down. I'm in my basement right now, and it looks like the opening seat of Saving Private Ryan. I got toys all over the place. Like, it's just mayhem here. Bear in mind, we had our cleaning people earlier today. That looked like money well spent, clearly. It's just a shit show here. And I've got the little ball pit is just strewn about. I got a lightsaber from out of nowhere. These three-year-olds, mind you, that absolutely just may as well just drop their pants taking a shit on the floor. I mean, it's recklessness here. But as they were doing all that, oh yes, I definitely got my wine drinking on. But the difference is, unlike Steve Sarkisian, I'm not calling it offense, so it's okay if I drink. That's real. You get back to the offensive coordinator's drinking problem. Kind of. But I mean the Atlanta offense is a real problem. That's for anyone who's got Matt Ryan's quarterback, and even Julio Jones, who I went up against and who had a great game. But no, there's a problem there anyway. But yeah, Jeffrey's going to be out for a while. Josh Gordon, we have no idea. I don't know where you look at this team and say that like there's a particular position where they really stand out. I mean, Jared Goff may have a decent game on Monday against the Raiders, but down the road, this is just not good. Jarvis Landry, I kind of like his PPR, but he's got Tyrod Taylor throwing the ball initially until Baker Mayfield becomes starter. But it's not pretty. I mean, I look at this team, and I don't, unless Meyer's going to do some wizardry with the waiver wire, I'm not quite sure how this becomes a playoff team. So this would be my submission for dog shit so far in the league.
Well, sure, but here
that's where I stand on that.
Here's the interesting thing, though. Last year, I said kind of the same thing about his team, and he did do some wizardry last year and made it to the playoffs. So, I mean, yes, I look at this team right now and it looks like dog shit. But I'm not in the game of calling Miner out for the count until it's time to, because the things that I saw him do last year, the players that I saw him pick up at the last minute, I mean, things that nobody I thought was were looking at. He manages to do something. I don't know what he's reading or what he's doing, but he manages to do pretty well in these things. So, but yes, on paper I look at this and this team is crap right now as it stands. But we'll see. Geez, your thoughts on what's your do you agree with him? Do you on this team?
I'm actually curious. I've never seen a live minor auction. It's always been auto. Actually pick up if he was actually there.
Yeah, well, he did show up for a second and then left the room. He took one look at his lineup and went, "All right, goodbye." All right, honey, we got some work to do in this season. Goodbye. I don't know. So, what would be your submission for dog shit team of the draft?
Dog shit teams? Well, let's look at the other auto draft team. Let's look at Kimmel's team. He didn't show up till late because he was on the phone with Malaysia.
This team's pretty bad. This team is pretty bad.
Let's take a look at this team. Carlos Hyde is definitely questionable. So is the often injured Jordan Reed.
Those weren't even the ones I was looking at for bad.
The all-jet bench. I don't know how that's going to get you.
The all Jets bench, and yet he doesn't have Robbie Anderson.
Right, he passed on Robbie Anderson.
But then he has Mike Evans and Amari Cooper.
And David, he's known to Joku.
I got it.
And the one move that he made was Tyler Lockett.
He did pick up Tyler Lockett in after. What did he? Was that in the? I mean, he did it the day after. I know. Who did he drop for that? Because there were a lot of transactions that happened. By the way.
Are there?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh my God! Yeah, they're up. Look at this transaction.
I know. I can't even find it. Well, let's see.
He finally dropped Zay Jones. I mean, that guy was hungry.
Yeah, and picked up D.D. Westbrook. Then dropped D.D. Westbrook to pick up Tyler Lockett.
And then dropped D.D. Westbrook for Tyler Lockett.
I mean, but that's a good move, I actually think.
What was Tyler Eifert even doing on the Millennials team to begin with?
I don't know. Did he get stuck with him? I don't even remember. He might have gotten stuck with him or something. I don't know.
Ooh, we won't get into the controversial Dr. Hockey trade until later on.
I mean, we could get into it now because it's not even controversial. Eugene just likes to make up his own press. He's the one who labeled it controversial. His own trade. It's ridiculous. It's a fine trade. Well, I think Lombardi actually said that it was a bullshit trade or something like that. And then Whalers said, "Shut up, it's a fair trade." What was his exact quote? Here, it's on the message board, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with this trade. Let's not be dummies about it. And there's not. I mean, look, I do agree that I don't know why Dr. Hockey. I think the Adams for McCaffrey portion of it was fine. I don't know why he traded tight ends. It doesn't make any sense to me. But it's nothing out of the realm of, it's just a bad move. But people are allowed to make bad moves, you know. It was Delaney Walker. Who was it? It was Delaney Walker for
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Yeah. Which
who I've never heard of before.
Me neither.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think McCaffrey for Adams is fair, and I think at that point, Walker and Seals-Jones, like that's a little bloody-handed, but it doesn't seem egregious to me.
No, it's not egregious.
To make really an argument about this. No, and in the end, it just I have to look at Odwin's team going forward. But
look, I think that Odwin needed a wide receiver, and he got one, and he had a plethora of running backs. So that's fine. The other thing I think.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think he needed wide receivers. I think, he had a plethora of running backs. He gave them up, gave up one, which he had room to do so. And then, I just don't understand the tight end portion of it, but whatever. I mean, I don't know. But go ahead.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he had Hooper starting, from Atlanta on Thursday, only 5.4 points. No, I mean, running back wise, he had Fournette. Fournette was great for me last year. It should be a decent sophomore year for that running back, even though I think the entire league now knows like the key to stopping Jacksonville, stopping the running game. Royce Freeman, who's the very highly touted running back out of Denver, who's going to clearly be the number one back in an offense, is probably going to put more of an emphasis on the run game because Case Keenum is not going to be. You're not going to try to throw the ball 35 times a game with him as quarterback. So you're going to try to hopefully get some kind of running game started. But Fitzgerald and Adams, that's a pretty good wide receiver pair, and then you've got Drew Brees. One thing that I like about Dr. Hockey's team is you've got a solid quarterback, you've got a dominant receiver, and then a really good number two receiver, great running back, and then a running back that has significant potential. The problem I think falls off is when you look at Hooper, and then you've got Keelan Cole, who may actually end up having a decent season. It's a bench that could go either way, but it's not a bad team. I mean, that trade I didn't see that as much that big an issue. I think whoever took issue with it was just screwing around. I think it was just seemed legit. I mean, very often you don't see a number one receiver, a number one running back in trade straight up. But it worked out, and by points, I think that's going to be a pretty even trade this year. So.
Yeah. What about you, Geese, Mr. Commissioner? Your thoughts on the controversial, not really controversial trade?
Well, I'd like to give notice right now, going forward, that there will be no trades that are even remotely looked at as far as like controversial or retelling. But no, I don't care if you trade Todd Gurley for the punter. It's going through.
A turnstile trade system.
I'm back the punter. It's going through. So you guys can squawk about whatever they want. All trades in this league are whatever. There's no review of anything.
Unless it violates the postseason rule thing, but other than that,
I think that was the only acquisition that seemed to be the most fought about last year was that deal in the postseason between Eugene and Lombardi. Everyone rightfully had grievance with that, and now that's been legislated out of the league. So we'll see what other transactions happen, but. No, I think Arlen certainly came out of it well. On the flip side of that, with regards to look at Eugene's
team. Well, I'm going to tell you this right now, and I hate to say this because it disgusts me to give the man any credit, but I think coming out of that draft, and particularly after this trade, I think Eugene's team is the best on paper out of the draft. I just do. I think that I looked at the team and I was like, wow, that's actually a really good team. I could be wrong. I mean, and looking at, it's kind of skewed a little bit looking at the results of Thursday's game. But you have to understand that that's one game, so you don't know. But I'm just saying on paper. I mean, look, Kirk Cousins, not that great. But, Michael Thomas is great. Or at least he should be good. Like, he's a top quality wide receiver. I think Keenan Allen is a good wide receiver. I thought, even though he only got 8 points in this game, I thought Devonta Freeman is a great pickup. He way underpaid for him too, by the way. I mean, what did Freeman go for this year? I mean, it was insane. Here, where's I can look this up, right? He went for $37. I mean, that was a running back that 2 years ago was going for, what, like 60s or something? It's a great deal. Then who else does he have? Now with the trade, he has McCaffrey as his other running back. Now he's got Delaney Walker. Clam Crowder, not so great. Prater's a good kicker. Defense, whatever, the Detroit defense. But he's also got Chris Carson on the bench. He's got Breda. I like Pat Mahomes, actually, as a quarterback, as a backup quarterback there. Marshawn's not bad. Watkins is fine. And I don't know who Dinty Moore's dog food is. But whatever. I'm just saying. I think his team is actually not that bad on paper. And just looking at the other teams, I think it's better than most of them. Well, that was at least my impression going out of Thursday. I guess if we looked at these teams more in depth now, maybe I'll think differently. But that's at least what I thought going out of, not Thursday, Tuesday, after the draft.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think anything about anybody, unless you're comparing them to last season's performance, because nobody's played a game yet.
Well, yeah, but I mean, obviously. Like, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. On paper, looking at, what these teams look like on paper based on their last year's performance, yes. I mean, but, look, if you just, if you could just rely on that, then there would be no reason to play the season. So, I'm just saying, coming out of the gates, it looks like he has a really good team. But, yeah, it could be dog shit. I mean, these players could have off years. You could one of these players could David Johnson themselves and play 5 minutes, and then they're out for the season. You don't know. So,
yeah, I tend to agree too. I think it's probably one of the better receiving pairs in the league. Cousins, I think, is going to have a great year. And McCaffrey, I liked a lot in the auction. So, yeah, it's a balanced team.
Yeah, that's
it's something that. I think that's what you try to shoot for. I mean, I normally strive for that. I decided to go just totally different directions, but I do like where Eugene is. I just don't happen to like Eugene personally. So obviously, I wish nothing bad things to happen to the team. But but it does. I agree with Gabe. Like, it's on paper is what we're talking about. The issue with Freeman though is that I talked about this earlier, but yeah, I think the Atlanta offense is broken. I think Julio's had a phenomenal year, but I don't see any reason why I would trust that offense. There's something, and this is not just from the game on Thursday. Like, we've seen a trend last year where Matt Ryan, since the Super Bowl, has not played well. I'm not quite sure what is the focus of the offense. This they change offensive coordinator, Kyle Shanahan going to San Francisco now as the head coach. I don't like the direction they're going. So Freeman was where, at this point, I'm not sure he's going to have that much better a year than Marshawn Lynch. Like, that's kind of where I am right now with Atlanta running backs. Kevin Coleman, I think, might be the better option this year because I think there's very likely more of a chance that Atlanta running backs are going to thrive more in the passing game than in the running game. I just have no sense of what offensively the Falcons are going to try to do this year. But I agree with you. I think it's balanced, and I think Cousins is a good matchup this week against the 49ers. It's just a solid team. I think it's just a balanced team, and when you got those two guys at receiver, they're both going to play well. Listen, Tampa's best cornerback's out this weekend. The Chiefs traded away their best cornerback, Marcus Peters. So I imagine both these receivers will thrive this week. Their total projection is about 37 points, and it actually may be even slightly higher. I mean, I think Michael Thomas will have a really good year, and I think it's going to be the kind of guy who's going to average upwards of 15, 16 points a game, if not more so. So I think they're well developed. And Delaney Walker's going to be solid. I mean, they started this season a shitty Miami team that basically gave away their entire defense in the offseason. So I imagine that they'll play well. So I have no faith in Jameson Crowder because I have no faith in most of what Washington has to offer. So.
Yeah. So, Geese, what do you think of either Eugene's team, or you could volunteer who you think is the best, who had the best draft?
Well, Eugene sat on 186. He was a 186er for most of the draft. I was starting to raise an eyebrow. Like, who's he even going to get? Who's left? They ended up putting together quite an interesting squad. And like you said, the trade only makes it better. So, this guy knows what he's doing. Whalers did that last year. He sat on his money till the end and put together a solid lineup, too. So,
yeah,
interesting philosophy.
I know. I didn't know what Whalers did. I watched Whalers. Let me relook at his team, but I remember watching Whalers during that auction going, what is this guy doing? Let's take a look at the Whalers team. Mariota, Antonio Brown's good, obviously. Doug Baldwin, I think, is going to have a terrible year. He's even said himself he's not 100%. Mixon, Kamara, okay. He has Eifert. LaShawn McCoy, he's still rolling with. Butker, New Orleans, yikes. Stills, Gallup, Chubb, Mack, who's questionable. Williams. Which Williams is this one? Another, it's not Scott Williams. Mike Williams of the Chargers. And Galladay. I don't know. This is a pretty bad team, too, I think. On paper. I mean, he's got Antonio Brown, and he's got Kamara. So, I mean, in theory, and McCoy is good if he, actually is allowed to play the whole season, but he might be in an Elliott-like situation. So it actually, maybe I'll take a little of that back. Maybe it's not that bad a team. I don't know. I'm actually curious about your thoughts about this team.
You can't bet against Antonio Brown. I mean, that's a solid pickup.
No, I know, but he can't carry your entire team. I have acknowledged that Brown is great, but go ahead.
Yeah, I like this team.
Okay.
I think Mariota. I still don't trust him much as a quarterback, but I think that he will be able to run the ball enough that it's going to warrant him being a really solid number one quarterback this year. They start again. I talked about Miami earlier. I mean, they're playing a shitty Miami team this weekend. I think Mariota is projected out to 20 points. I think that's fair. Antonio Brown. This will be interesting. The weather they're talking about in Cleveland is going to be just loud this weekend. It's going to be tough for receivers to get a lot of traction. So we'll see how that goes. And although they may have to lean more heavily toward Antonio Brown because Le'Veon Bell is just still not showing up. Doug Baldwin, I've never liked. I don't think he's number one receiver, and just Russell Wilson does amazing things to free himself up because that's just a bad offensive line. Joe Mixon, it's the second season. Obviously, we know the problems he's had. I think that may be a better than we all gave credit for as far as a pickup in the auction. Alvin Kamara is just amazing. They start this year home, and I think they're always a better home team against a Tampa Bay team that defensively may look better this year, but their offense is going to be so bad until James gets back, and even when he gets back, there's no guarantee they're going to improve. So I think Kamara's going to be on the field a lot. Eifert's just an injury risk, and McCoy. The problem is that McCoy actually. I don't like him at this point in his career, but the problem is that quarterback situation in Buffalo is trash. I tend to agree with what Jalen and Ramsey, the Jags, said about Josh Allen. I don't think he's that good at all, and I think they absolutely just screwed themselves in the draft. And you got rid of the only probably decent quarterback of that team, which was DJ McCarron for the Raiders. So now you're dealing with either Nathan Peterman, who's going to start, and then or Josh Allen. They're going to run the ball a lot. They start the year at Baltimore as a tough defense to play against. So I think this week that may not work out so well, but I think in the long run, until that passing game shows me anything, I think McCoy is a better choice to make. Bench-wise, Nick Chubb, obviously rookie this year. We don't know what to expect this season. Mike Williams of the Chargers, I think the Chargers are going to have a pretty good year. So I think that pick will work out. But, yeah, you got Antonio Brown and Alvin Kamara just by itself, I think, immediately puts you in the better half of the league. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And I like Mariota. I think that's a pretty smart move. It's a good team. I think right off the bat, I say they're in the better half of the league, and I slot them for a playoff spot right now. And just a matter of do players stay healthy? What does Scott do to try to add additional players to just increase his chances of having more success this year?
All right, Nick, you've convinced me.
Isn't it ironic that Whalers for the second straight season has a potential suspension candidate running back?
Yeah.
He had Elliott last year, and now whenever McCoy gets suspended, he loves it.
No,
that McCoy thing is weird. I don't know. I thought that this is uncomfortable even talking about this, but I thought his girlfriend withdrew the charges, like something he, I think, had said that on second thought maybe this didn't happen. So I'm not quite sure if the league is going to pursue any kind of thing. Although the league is so just mercurial as to what they will punish you for. So McCoy may get at least 2 games for just being in a bad situation.
Yeah, who knows? That's the thing. It's so unpredictable right now. But I mean, and look, I had McCoy last year. I thought he was great. I mean, he was one of the best players I had on my team, and I really wanted him this year until I saw that incident happen. It just scared me away because I just don't want to be living week to week wondering, like, is this guy, going to carry my team and then to be gone? I mean, but he got him for, I mean, how much did he get him for? It was he got him for a really good deal. I mean, that's the other thing. So, let's see. McCoy. He got him for $23. I mean,
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so all right, yeah, you've convinced me. I think my initial impression coming out of the draft is not. Now that I'm kind of looking at this team, yeah, it was wrong. Yeah, it's a good team. It's a good team. I think. Geese?
I mean, that's an interesting. So what you said about him, what about your Le'Veon Bell situation there?
Oh, so we want to get to we want to get to my team, because I will tell you, we could certainly talk about my draft. So last year I came into the draft. First of all, I was supposed to get 0 wins, and the rankings said that I had the worst draft out of everybody. But I was like, no, I feel really good about this team. Like, I think it's a good team. This year I come out of the draft, I'm like, I don't like my team. I don't like what I did. And really, I got fucked at the beginning of this draft because I didn't want Le'Veon Bell. I really didn't want him at all. I didn't even want to be on the bidding. But I thought the auto drafting miners computer would eventually keep going for Le'Veon Bell. Because it was involved in the bidding, and I wanted to just make it go a little bit higher, and then it just stopped at 66, and then I was stuck with the musical chairs of Le'Veon Bell, who I had no desire to have, which completely changed my entire drafting strategy, because I was not planning on spending 66 on anyone, certainly not on Bell, who I didn't even want on my team. I wanted Melvin Gordon and Dalvin Cook. Those were the running backs that I wanted, but then once I got stuck with this guy at the beginning, it's like, what do you do? So I managed to get Melvin Gordon. I made the trade with Nick for Connor, the backup, for Kittle, which I actually liked Kittle. I think Garoppolo is going to have a good season. I think he's going to pass a lot to him, but I mean, at that point, even towards the end of the auction, I was just trying to pick up any running back that would even be playing the first couple weeks, because I think Bell will suit up eventually. I mean, it'll probably take him a month to get back into game shape, but I just needed a running back even to play this week. I mean, I picked up Wilkins, the backup running back to Mac in Indianapolis, so I would at least have somebody to play this week in case the deal with me and Nick fell through. So I would, I was planning on having somebody, but, to get Le'Veon Bell's handcuff is at least, it's fine. I don't think he'll be as good as Bell, but I think that he'll be okay, in the interim. Other than that, I think, so I'm happy with Gordon, and if Bell comes back to play well, I think, I even though I overspent for him, he'll still be good towards the latter half of the season. I get Mark Ingram back towards, after week 5, so I think that'll really help the team later on. So it's really a matter of surviving this first couple weeks. I don't love my receiving core. I mean, Will Fuller, depending on Deshaun Watson, how he does. I mean, he was really good when Watson was on last year. And if that remains the same, then he'll be good. Look, Hogan, there's nobody else there. There's Gronk, but I mean, as far as wide receivers, there's nobody else there. And I had Hogan last year. I think he'll be fine. I got him for a really cheap price, too. I don't remember what it is. And Robbie Anderson, you had him, Geese, and you saw what he was like. He was good. And Kyle Rudolph, look, I think Kyle Rudolph is going to have a great season as a tight end. I think not only does he have, what do you call it? You like that throwing to him. But the offensive coordinator there is the same offensive coordinator that Cleveland had a couple years ago. When Gary Barnidge suddenly was this great tight end, and then he left them, and then we never heard from Gary Barnidge again. And now that guy, who clearly focuses on the tight end, is going to Kyle Rudolph. So that was the the quarterback that I want. I mean, the tight end that I wanted, and then I wanted Garoppolo. And I think I ended up getting Matt Ryan because he was so cheap that I was like, fine. And this week, both teams had a bad matchup, but we'll get into that into the intricacies of the specific games this week later. But, and there were other plays that I was trying to go for towards the end, but I was just like $1 short because everybody was nickel and diming me throughout that auction for because I had to pay $8 for the Jacksonville defense, who I really wanted. I think I had to pay $2 for the kicker. There was I had to pay an extra $1 here and there that ended up costing me towards the end when Lombardi, I think, got some guy for some running back. I think it was the Packers running back. I don't even remember what it was. And Tevin Coleman went for a little too much for me. I ended up tapping out at that point because I just didn't have the money because I had spent an extra $1 here and there. So I don't like my draft, but I mean, I feel I could build a team around it. But I don't love my team. But feel free to rip it to shreds or not. I don't care. What do you think about my draft since we're on it?
It's, I mean, I don't, are you going to, I think the Steelers in real life should probably try and trade Bell if they could. I mean, the guy clearly doesn't want to play. If you don't want him next year, that's a tricky situation. Do you really think that Le'Veon Bell is going to give an A1 performance this season, or is just not even going to show up?
I don't think. I mean, look. I mean, he's also in a contract year, so he might. Look, I've read a million things about it, whether or not he'll. Because I don't even know. I haven't heard any news today, but maybe he'll sign today just so he can get paid for the first week and then show up in the second week or something. Because it's obviously too late for him to play this week. Maybe they'll trade him to another team that really wants him, and he'll have a great game in the middle, or a great season in the middle of that. I don't know. I don't. This was not a player that I planned to have. I got stuck with a crappy situation. I said in the auction that I'd be happy to move him, and I'm still willing to entertain trade offers, but I'm not going to get shafted on Le'Veon Bell. I'm not making the same Le'Veon Bell mistake that somebody else on this broadcast did last year. So we'll see. I'm not, don't offer me Doug Martin for Le'Veon Bell and expect me to accept that trade. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I don't know. What? Anyway, go on.
One thing that's interesting about the team you put together is just that, your two biggest players. I mean, $66 for Le'Veon Bell, which obviously in the end really didn't want, but it's $58 for Melvin Gordon. But then after that, the most expensive player you have is Robbie Anderson and Will Fuller. Obviously you can see where your spending went, but a lot of guys, it's a smart pickup. I mean, $6 for Kyle Rudolph is pretty impressive. Danny Amendola going for $1. And Amendola, I mean, I don't trust Ryan Tannehill, so I could see him throwing a lot of short passes, and I think Amendola's going to be the beneficiary of it because I really hope Devontae Parker ends up playing well this season because I like them a lot coming out of Louisville, but I just don't see it. I mean, the talent's there, and we saw some pieces of it last year, but Amendola's the most reliable receiver that the Dolphins have.
And you say this as, by the way, you say this with the full knowledge that I have that you picked him up off of the waiver wire after I dropped him. So you're basically giving you're backhandedly complimenting yourself in this. Oh, that Amendola, that was a great pick. I mean, he's on my team now.
Well, the funny thing is, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I remember picking up Amendola, but I forgot what league I did it in. As I was saying, I think I picked him up in my work league. No, I picked him up in the center, apparently. But I think I like Gordon a lot. I mean, I got him, in his rookie year, obviously, was his least successful year.
You want to compliment my pick of Kittle, too, while you're at it? Who I also traded you for. Dave, you did a really great job. Let me tell you something. You did a really great job of picking up Amendola and Kittle. Great pickups.
I have no. I mean, this weekend I think against Minnesota, Kittle's not going to have a great game, honestly. No, I think the Bell thing is interesting. I mean, this is it's a unique situation because this is about a guy who's not one side of his franchise tender. So I don't know technically. He's not a free agent, obviously. He can't sign with any team. He's kind of just sort of waiting this out with the Steelers. If he, I mean, he was franchised, I think, last year. So if he's still sitting on that money that he earned last season, then I would wonder how long he could hold out. And I don't see any incentive for him to report anytime soon. So I think he comes back this year. I think he comes back sooner than later, but clearly not around for the first week. And I think that Steelers offense, obviously now has a new offensive coordinator. Now that Todd Haley's moved on to Cleveland, so it'll be interesting to see. But I mean, they run the ball well. It's a good offensive line. I think they have a good chance to be successful. And I think they're going to be more run dependent this weekend against Cleveland. So I think it's a good team. Matt Ryan, I think Garoppolo can end up having a better season than Ryan does. But this week, it makes much more sense to take Ryan over Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo's only got a couple of games as a starter down, going up against the best defense in the league in Minnesota. Wouldn't clearly start him. And Rudolph, I think, does get even more targets. I think he's playing with a more capable quarterback in Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we can get into the games later, but that was part of the reason why I played Matt Ryan instead of Garoppolo this week. But yeah, we could get into that later. All right, Geese, your thoughts on?
And I will. Oh, before I get off, John Ross is an interesting pickup. Good rookie receiver, one of the fastest guys that came out of the draft. He's going to be. Now, again, trying to assume that the coaching staff of the Bengals know what they're doing because they usually don't. If they use Ross well, he's going to be that kind of a boom or bust player. But that could easily be a way for A.J. Green to get through, which I think is going to allow Ross to see some single coverage. But I actually like that pickup a lot. I don't know when you necessarily put him in the starting lineup, but I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's why I picked him up, basically. I was also looking at Tyler Lockett before Tillett picked him up, but I mean, like, I don't feel that confident with my wide receiving core, and I was looking at who was available that maybe might, have that, that kind of breakout good season, and I don't know that he will or won't, but I thought that he has potential to, and I wanted at least to have him on the bench to wait and see, before somebody else went and got him for something ridiculous. All right, any other... Okay. I guess we can move on to your team. Or so is there anybody else that anybody thinks is like, the had the best draft? Any other candidates?
The best draft.
On to the other coach on this podcast. Let's look at Nicky Baby.
All right, let's look at Nicky Baby. I mean, he had...
Obviously, he hit two back-to-back home runs with Gurley and Elliott. Like, he must have just been, falling out of his feet after those two things. Unfortunately, after the Rodgers fiasco, it left him with $6.
Yeah, I normally don't. I usually try to strive for some balance. I usually try to get at least a really solid, wide receiver. And this year, I just felt like, screw it. Like, I know how good Gurley and Elliott would be. And I thought, if I can lock up at least one position and also get a really good quarterback in Rodgers, who I obviously vastly overpaid for, I'm good with that. The rest of the way, I'm looking at my team now. Essentially, after spending, two players going for 70, Rodgers going for 43, the most money a player made at that beyond that is Sterling Shepard for $4. So obviously, there's a very significant drop-off after my three biggest home run hitters. So I'm banking on a lot. I think you mentioned this in the draft. But yeah, like last year you went with Dan Johnson. Anything happens to my running backs or my quarterback, I'm going to be scrambling this season to try to stay competitive. And last year, I had Rodgers. Rodgers gets hurt, obviously, in week 6 or 7. And my season went for a tailspin. I was 4-1. And then, he gets hurt, and then just the season starts to fall off from there. So I have to be even more vigilant this year about staying, just keeping that, keeping the rest of that roster going. Because, right now, my receivers are just not good at all. They're serviceable. but it's not anything to be proud of. So, I just said, I'm going to have the best running backs and the quarterback in the league, and I'm going to, proverbially roll the dice for the rest of the roster.
Did you ever think about trade bait? I mean, look at what you can go for. Elliott and Gurley. You can get whatever you want.
I could. It's an interesting question. Because I saw the Adams McCaffrey deal, and it was something I started to wonder about is who in the league would I consider putting up? And of the two of them, it's hard to say. I tend to think Elliott will have the better year than Gurley, surprisingly. So I'd be more likely to part with Gurley. And saying that, I think you could get a whole bunch back for that. It's something I certainly wondered about. Rodgers not so much, because I think every team has a really, really good quarterback, and I don't think anyone's going to really go absolutely crazy to try to get him. I think one of the two running backs would allow me to certainly trade for a improvement wide receiver and just provide more depth in my starters.
Yeah, I look at. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. Looking at your team, because obviously you have the best running back tandem in the league by far. I think.
It's the history of any league.
Yeah, I know. No, it's phenomenal. And then, look, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have, even though he got paid, I still think he's going to have an amazing season. I think after last, he's one of those people that's just a competitor, and I think he's due for a really good season this year. But I don't know if I would have spent as much as you did on him, given how much you spent on Gurley and Elliott, because I think that you could have built. I think that there was certainly enough quarterbacks available to, maybe downgrade a little at quarterback. And especially since Rodgers is not going to, a lot of this you were already saying, but Rodgers is not going to be trade bait. The other two would be, but what do why would you want to give up that running back core? I think if you work the waiver wire and really pay attention, you'll be able to find some wide receivers that can make up there, a lot. And then you have the best running back tandem in the league, and then you still have Aaron Rodgers. So I think that there is a very good nucleus of this team. It's just a question of, can you get those extra little pieces in there? But in general, it's certainly not a balanced team.
No, it is like, I'm trying to. It might be like the Pan Anderson of the league, right? It's extremely top heavy. You're just. Oh man!
We could just call it the Nicky Baby Tit. Just rename your team to the Tits.
Baywatch is what I should call my team. And the Elliott thing is funny because that bidding was going up, and at some point it's like at $65, and I've got it on my screen. I'm like, do I really just want to nudge a little further? I'm like, fuck it. But I kind of thought someone would outbid me on there. And then no one did, and it just, he came to me, and I was like, okay, fine. No, the Rodgers thing, that drives me crazy, because the math will tell you that as good a year that Aaron Rodgers has, is it going to be that much better than some of these guys going for $5-6? No, it actually isn't. There's the difference in quarterbacks mathematically in the top 10 or whatever is not all that different. So that's why you don't overspend like that. I like Andrew Luck a lot this year. I think that offensive line plays a lot better. I think Luck have a good have a comeback season, and I could have easily gotten them for half that. It's less than that, and then that allows me to really improve it at the wide receiver position. Suddenly, I always have some question marks about Amari Cooper, but that's obviously suddenly in play. So there's opportunity to do that. So now I kind of just deal with having like a really solid trio, and you just hope that that's the only problem with not having a balanced team. Is like you're really depending on a few guys to play really well and probably slightly better than their projections to pick up the slack for the others. On the receiver end, Cooper Kupp, I think, and I saw them solely from a PPR standpoint. Cooper Kupp, I think, for the Rams, I think it's going to play well. I think this week against the Raiders, I think the Raiders secondary is better I think Kupp is going to be the guy on third down, is going to get a ton of just targets, from Jared Goff. Sterling Shepard, he's the number 2 guy in New York. Now that Beckham has his contract, Beckham's the best receiver. This weekend we're going to see it. This weekend Jalen Ramsey's going to probably get locked up with Beckham. That frees up. That's going to free up Shepard to go against their second best corner, who's good, but I still think that's a favorable matchup, and I think Shepard continues to improve. So it's not a great receiving core, but it's a core with some potential. And I'm back and forth about whether or not I'm going to start Amendola this week. I think Tennessee's a pretty good defense, but as I said before, I think Amendola's the most reliable receiver that Miami has. So we'll see. But I agree. I think it's an extremely top-heavy team, and it's one of those teams that I'm going to have to be more vigilant about looking at available players in the waiver, because I'm going to constantly have to reconstruct the rest of the roster aside from those 3 players.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I don't think Sterling Shepard is that bad. He actually did well last year. Randall Cobb is just on his way out. I mean, he was a good receiver, but I just don't, this isn't 2015. I do like Amendola. I just didn't have room for him on the bench, and I needed to do something. So that's part of the reason why. But he should be good. I don't say no. I mean, like I said, you just have to work around the little pieces. And I agree with you. This week I wouldn't play Kittle because they're playing Minnesota, but in general, I do think that Kittle will probably be better than Jared Cook. So I actually do think that you slightly upgraded your tight end through that trade. But yeah, in general, I mean, we you just work it hard. I mean, you already got Amendola, and I think that you could be certainly a good team this year. Why don't we talk about the other guy on this podcast, his team this time, the defending champs.
Oh, let's take a look.
And speaking about overpaying for quarterbacks, I mean,
look at Nick's opponent. Nick's opponent, the Lightning Rod, is personally responsible for the hickory stick that became Deshaun Watson. This guy single-handedly drove him up from $19 to $42.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to get Gaten Casper on this podcast. What was he thinking? Where was he going with this?
I think everyone likes Wilson a lot. I can understand Aaron Rodgers going for $30. I get that. I could see that getting crazy. Watson's a surprising one, but I think we all saw in the league when he played well. Gabe, your team was clearly the best in the league. And then to your credit, Watson goes down. You still managed to get together a squad with a feature. When healthy, I think Watson is, a top 5 fantasy quarterback easily. They start the year with a shaky New England defense. And you pair him up with DeAndre Hopkins, who is just a stud receiver. So I like the team a lot. I think Watson's going to be great. I think Watson stays healthy. The yards alone, he stands a chance of throwing 3,500, 4,000 yards. He could run. Again, stays healthy. That's, 500-600 yards rushing? I'll say he'll run more than Cam Newton this year. All that together says that's a player who's going to outpace a lot of quarterbacks this season. There's just a lot of talent that he has. So I think, and then between them and Dalvin Cook, I think you're a little like me in the sense that Watson, Hopkins, and Cook are your 3 best players by far. The rest of the way, things get shaky. Crabtree, Burton, Woods.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, but I get it. I'm living that world too. It's a Pam Anderson team. You just kind of you have to hope for the best. But no, but I can see. But yeah, no. Gaten made the smart move. I wanted Watson at a much lower price.
I don't know about that.
He haggled you. He haggled the hagglers.
There you go. But I know where he's coming from. Watson was the quarterback I wanted as well. But as soon as I saw that price getting to where it was, I'm out. I'm not going past $5 or whatever.
No, I wanted Watson too, but I wasn't even going to pay the 19, frankly, because I don't believe in spending that much money for quarterbacks. Because as we talked about with Aaron Rodgers, the difference between an Aaron Rodgers and a quarterback that I could get for $1 or $2 is not that great, generally. Yeah. I say this on the heels of a week where I just want to jump off a cliff from the performance of my quarterbacks. But, I mean, in general, over the course of the season, that's how I feel. So...
The same thing, obviously, the drop-off between 45 points a game for Deshaun Watson and 9 points a game from Matty Ice is not that dramatic.
Yeah, but if he gets 45 points, let's see if he can sustain it. It's his second year. I mean, look, he was great, but I don't know how he's going to feel after the injury. Is he going to be as... I mean, but look, I certainly, went for Will Fuller, so it's not like I don't have any confidence in the man. We'll just see. But I think, I mean, but my question is, because I know that you did not expect to pay $42 for Deshaun Watson yayas.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's a shaky comparison, but I consider, Watson got hurt in practice. He tore his ACL. The last time I remember a guy having a phenomenal rookie season, but then has a serious injury like that, and then really falls off the table, is Robert Griffin III. Now, Griffin got hurt in the playoffs and came back to start the next season, which was way too early. But we saw all the ability that Griffin had with Washington. Like, he clearly should have been, a fantasy stud going forward, but the injury just kept him out. Watson this year got hurt, not in the season last year, but comes back from an ACL injury. It'll be an interesting season for them. They ended up, I think, they clearly didn't make the playoffs, so it's a slightly favorable schedule. But it's definitely a risk, and I think the question for Houston's going to be, are they going to try to design an offense where it's not so dependent on him running the ball, but really just giving him the ability to throw? And he can. He's clearly a really good thrower. But I agree. I think anytime you have a guy who is a really good quarterback, but also plays well, partly because of his running ability, coming off a knee injury like that it just takes its toll on some level. So we're about to see what happens to Watson up.
Yeah, I mean, but my other question, I mean, and that's absolutely true. I mean, which is part of the reason why I certainly was not getting into the $40 sweepstakes, and not even into the $20 sweepstakes for him. But my question is, so what were you expecting to pay for him? Because obviously you wanted him. So what was your?
I wanted him bad, and I set aside $30 for the man, and I thought that would be a little on the high side.
Okay.
Mid-20s, 55, 28, and then people would start to depends on how to 28. I had $30 set aside. When it got to 42, the seed was coming out of my ears. I think Gaten Kazimir was just playing games at that point.
Well, I don't know. Well, so then my other question is, obviously you had to sacrifice with that extra $12. You had to sacrifice somebody else that you wanted. So who was that?
Oh, and then I tried to talk because I wanted Larry Fitzgerald actually to pair up with DeAndre Hopkins, and I had more than enough money set aside because I only went for like $17. Like, too rich for my blood when I'm bankrupted going after Deshaun Watson. So Dr. Hockey, I was like 4 seconds away, and then I saw Hockey go, "Ding, you asshole!"
Oh,
so,
he would do that all the time. By the way, the entire draft, it was so frustrating. You're like, I got this guy, and then there comes Hockey with the last minute. Oh, come on, Hockey.
Ding. Yep.
So frustrating. But yeah, all right. Well, all right. So I mean, but I pretty much agree with Nick's assessment on your team. Look, the two firsts from Watson and Hopkins could either make or break your team. They're great. I do agree that Dalvin Cook is good. I wanted him as my RB2. You ended up with him. But I do think he's a quality RB who's going to get you a lot of points. After that, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not saying it's terrible, but I don't know. And we'll see. I mean, look, Crabtree is the only one there in Baltimore. Really, he's the only wide receiver. I don't know anything about Tim Burton or whatever. a nightmare before the NFL season. I have no idea. AP, I mean, he could be good. He could not. I don't know. I mean, there's so many questions. I mean, your whole team, you should just put like a question. I mean, you're the Joker. You should be the Riddler this year because you have just a large question mark around your team this year. They could be great. They could be, I don't know.
Look, I will say this. We've played with worse.
Yes, you have. You won a championship with worse. I mean, your quarterback was Joe Flacco, so yeah. I mean, and that's the thing about the Haggers. If you have to flush the entire team down the toilet, we know you will. So whatever. All right.
Exactly.
Did we go over Dr. Hockey's team?
Oh, do we have to?
I don't know. No, we don't, actually. I mean, we've done a lot of draft analysis. I feel like we've done enough draft analysis in and of itself. We could get on to the games this week if we want. I mean, we'll certainly talk about these teams if you want. I think that might be the better, more prudent thing to do at this point, because there's no other teams. I mean, unless there's another team that absolutely stands out as either amazing or shit. Is there?
No, we've pretty much gone over everybody.
All right. So then let's get to the games this week. Let's actually start with Odwin, make Odwin great again versus the St. Louis Blues, which is an interesting game because we didn't talk about either of these teams when we did our draft analysis. So we could do kind of a combo in this. So the original projection of this game was 129.5 in favor of MAGA versus 139.53 for the Blues. So very high projections right now. Dr. Hockey with Hooper only getting 5.40 points in the Thursday night game is now projected to get 125. So Lombardi is a 60% favorite. So let's look at these. The matchup. Does somebody else want? I mean, I'm happy to go over it, but anybody else want to look at this while I have you on the phone? All right, I'll do it then. Fine. Breeze versus Rivers. I think Rivers is going to have a really good year. I think that is a good pickup for him, and I think Rivers will do very well this season. I think Breeze will do well this week against Tampa Bay at home.
Lombardi has Rivers every year, though.
Yeah, but I think that for some reason I think this is going to be a good year for him. Does he have him? He always has like Keenan Allen. He has Chargers, but I don't know. Maybe he does. I don't know. Well, all right. So, who do you think wins the battle between Breeze and Rivers this week?
I mean, Tampa Bay is ass, but definitely Breeze.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So then, looking at the wide receivers, so Aldwin picked up Devontae Adams, which we talked about this trade. I think that was a good pickup for him at wide receiver. And then you have Larry Fitzgerald, which I'm interested as to actually why you wanted Fitzgerald so much, because I don't think his quarterback is going to be that good. So I'm actually curious why you wanted him before we get into the conversation about the rest of this.
Workload. I mean, target. There's nobody else to throw to. Okay. Well, he's going to get volume.
Sure. All right. Well, I mean, that's fair. Well, Washington is also not that good a team. So I think these are two good, favorable matchups for Odwin at wide receiver. I think Diggs is, I think he got paid. I think he's overhyped. I don't like Diggs that much. AJ Green, I actually, I thought that, I mean, what did he end up paying for AJ Green?
Let's see.
What was it? He went for $35. I actually think that is a reasonable price for AJ Green. I think that was a good pickup. And I mean, the problem with Cincinnati in general is that, first of all, isn't their coach still Marvin Lewis?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, the guy has been around. I mean, he's never done anything.
It'll always happen. I mean, Marvin Lewis, when we finally all get vaporized by burrito, the only thing that will last in the United States of America will be cockroaches and Marvin Lewis still going to be Cincinnati Bengals.
Exactly. Why is he still there? I don't understand. Like, AJ Green obviously is a good receiver, and I think that is a good pickup. And I think on paper, Lombardi's receiving core, based on what, the fantasy analysts would say is a good team on paper. I just don't like those two receivers. I just don't. I think Rivers is good. I think AJ Green is fine for the price he paid. I think Diggs is not going to be that great this season. I could be wrong, but we'll see. So you look at all right, the quarterbacks and the wide receiving matchups. Who do you give the edge to in this between those matchups? I mean, so obviously we're going with Breeze with the matchup edge against Tampa Bay. Fitzgerald versus Washington and Adams versus Chicago. Chicago might have a good defense, so we'll see there. Or Diggs versus San Francisco and A.J. Green versus Indianapolis. Now, Indianapolis sucks, so we can give them some extra points there. But I don't know. Who wins that matchup? Not the whole matchup. What? Hello? Did Nick pass out in his...
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so... We're talking about the receivers, right? I didn't miss that.
Yes.
So
I love how I love how even the people on the show don't pay attention to the show. Go ahead. Yes, the receivers.
I was getting my phone was about to die. I had to get my chargers.
Okay. Well, Lombardi had to get his chargers too. So go ahead.
well said. I like Diggs over Fitzgerald. I think that obviously the better quarterback in Minnesota. They're hosting San Francisco. It's going to be just an incredible crowd. So I think Diggs in PPR makes sense. He had a great season last year. Him and Thielen are probably the most underrated wide receiver tandem in football. Diggs, I think, especially in our league, I think does really well. A.J. Green, I'm in Indianapolis. I have no idea what to expect of the defense, and I don't think they play well enough to really stop them. I think Adams, the Bears, I think will play better. Obviously, they're going to have Khalil Mack, so their pass rush improves. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes, how much time Rodgers has to get rid of the ball. So I think Adams' numbers suffers a little bit for that reason. Fitzgerald, I think you might have brought this up. The quarterback situation in Arizona is bad. I think Sam Bradford's the starter, and insert your joke there. But then you have Josh Rosen, the rookie, who's backing up right now. Fitzgerald got a ton of targets, but I think Diggs still has a better day. So I get a slight edge to the Blues. Tampa's just going to be terrible for a while until they get their starting quarterback back. And New Orleans is always just phenomenal at home. I like Breeze a lot there. It's close, but I tend to think that the Blues edge this out.
Are we talking just on the wide receiving matchup, or are we talking about the whole thing?
No, I think overall, the Blues wins this.
All right, well, let's look at the other. So you have Fournette versus David Johnson. I give the edge to Fournette because I think that Giants defense is just atrocious. I mean, everybody's been focusing on Saquon Barkley and Odell Beckham getting paid and maybe a little Eli or whatever, but that Giants defense was atrocious. In fact, if Dr. Hockey was here, he would tell me. He told me the other day on the phone, and he is a Giants fan who actually watches all the stuff in the offseason and everything, and he was just like, I mean, everybody's focused on this offense, but let me tell you something. That defense is garbage. And it is. So, I'm going to give a slight edge to Fournette there over David Johnson, though I do think that David Johnson will do fine against Washington. I also found it interesting that you have the exact opposite feeling about Diggs and Thielen than I do. I think that they're the overrated people this year. I think last year they were underrated. I think this year they're overrated. But, okay. Then you have Royce Freeman, who I actually think will do well, though this week he has a tough matchup against Seattle. And Alex Collins versus Buffalo. Buffalo sucks, obviously, or at least we think that they do. And then,
No, I'll question it a little bit because I think Seattle's best players are gone.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Bennett.
That is true.
They let go of Richard Sherman.
Yeah, that is true.
They are now. They're nothing now. They're basically Russell Wilson and just a lot of prey.
And that is true. That is true.
They're a team that's going to live on a reputation. They're Denver's home this week. I think Freeman has a decent game. I think Denver's going to really try to establish a running game because I think they have. The quarterback, the improvement of quarterback. You went from just a dumpster fire to Case Keenum, so I guess that's an improvement. I Alex Collins is a good running back. Buffalo is a playoff team. Granted, they lost in a close game to Jacksonville in the first week of the playoff. But,
wait. Did you say Buffalo is a playoff team?
Yeah, Buffalo was a playoff team last year.
Oh, I thought you said is going to be a playoff team. Never mind. Okay.
Oh no, no, I don't think lightning strikes twice for the.
Okay.
No, I like Freeman over Collins for that reason. Yeah, I think Seattle's setting themselves up to try to get a top 5 pick next year.
They might actually.
They are. Yeah.
You know what? And it's true. I mean, they're trying to live off their reputation because even for me, I you automatically think Seattle and you're like, oh yeah, defense, this and that. But you're absolutely right. And this is part of the problem with the first week of the season. You haven't seen any games really, except for one. And you forget like all the stuff that's happening. It's not until I've always said it's not until week 3 that you really know what these players are going to do this season. But that's true. I do think that Freeman will have a good game now that you point that out. All right, Hooper, we already know he only got 5 points in that game, in that train wreck of a game. First of all, I'll talk about that when I talk about the matchup between me and Geese. but yeah, only 5 points in that game. And then Greg Olsen, good pickup, and I think that he'll do well, certainly against Dallas. Cole, I mean, you mentioned him before. I think Cole will do well. Now that Lee is down. Plus, he was doing well last year. I mean, towards the end of the season, those Jacksonville wide receivers were actually doing really well. So I think he'll actually do fine. Williams on Chicago, I think that was the guy that he picked for me from at the end, and he'll do well there. I think that he might actually outplay Cole. Yeah, I'm gonna. Ooh, this is actually a tougher game than looks to be projected. So who'd you say you're going with?
I'm gonna give the slight edge to the Blues.
Okay. What about you, Geese?
I mean,
is Odwin?
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to take another week for Odwin to get great again.
I mean, Austin Hooper, I don't know what hockey was expecting out of him. I think that was more of a gamble.
Well, I think the Hooper decision was more, he didn't know with Seals Jones this week. Although, frankly, you just traded for him. I would have played him against Washington. I don't know what he was thinking there. But okay. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be closer than this projection says, though. I do give the slight edge, particularly in the tight end area, to the Blues. All right. So where do we want to go next? What game do we want to do next?
You guys are going head to head. You guys next, or do we wait for the end?
We could do that now. Why not? Let's get this shit show over with. So, all right, the championship rematch, and I have to say, starting on Thursday night, I felt like I was living, like, I immediately felt like I was transported back to December. It was like deja vu all over again, watching Philadelphia on a national stage with Nick Foles, who fucking sucks, play again, and it was just like the opposite, though. Except because, like, this time I didn't need Nick Foles to score. I needed Matt Ryan to score. But it's because their team, it's just such a pathetic game to watch. It was just like watching, like, I'm gonna self-destruct if I ever have to watch Eagles games again. I hate it. I hate them. I hate everything about it. It's just awful. And here was the thing. I needed Nick Foles to just do something, and he finally did towards the... It was just so frustrating. I can't even speak normally about this game. Go ahead.
He means Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
He means Matt Ryan.
Well, it's not that I hate Matt Ryan. I actually don't. That was the other frustrating thing, to watch the end of the game. I'm like, just get a fucking touchdown to salvage this game. You're within the 10-yard line. Well, and then he handed it off to Coleman. I'm like, you couldn't have flicked it to him. And then, like you said at the beginning of the game, he had... What, he had 3 chances in the red zone? I mean, like, the man couldn't do... I mean, all he needed to do was get 1 touchdown, and he salvages this performance. But no, he gets under 10, under double digits. It's just pathetic. And look, I wanted to play Garoppolo, but I mean, I can't play him against Minnesota this week. Minnesota, I just think is too good, and I do think Garoppolo will be good. I just don't think he's going to be good this week, which is why I sat him and thought maybe Matt Ryan, after coming off the loss in the NFC Championship game to the Eagles and a terrible performance, would come back and have a good performance on this Thursday night. He didn't. Nobody did. It was horrible to watch. It was like watching that championship game all over again. The only solace that I have is that Elliott was on your team instead of mine, fucking up extra points, although he didn't fuck up an extra point, but still he only got 4 points. So I'm just glad that game is over. That's all I have to say. Let's move on to the other ones. It's still, the projection, as far as the projection goes, it was originally 129.93 in my favor to 128.67, so basically a 50-50. You gained a little right here because the quarterback, Ryan was projected to get 21.7. He only got 9, but Elliott was projected to get 9. So basically I lose 11 points. You lost 5. So you're about, since we're supposed to be even, you have about a 6-point edge at this point, which could be made up anywhere else. So this game is by no stretch of the imagination over. It's just frustrating to have watched that, and I don't ever want to see any Eagles games again. And it was an extra kick in the nuts to watch that team win the Super Bowl and Nick Foles to win the MVP. And that's all I have to say. And it's just frustrating that I had to start the season exactly where I left off, watching a frustrating fucking Eagles team. Moving on. I'm clearly going to give the edge to Deshaun Watson in this matchup. Clearly. Then you have, all right, so here's the interesting thing, the wide receiver matchup. So it's all, actually most of this wide receiver matchup is the New England Houston game. I actually think Deshaun Watson will have a decent game against a not that great New England defense. The question is, does he throw it to Hopkins, or does he throw it to Fuller, or does he throw it to both? And then I'm hoping for a shootout, because then Hogan will get some points. I think Hopkins has the edge over Fuller, obviously, but not by that much, because I think it's going to be dependent on how Watson does in general. And then I think if it's a high-scoring game, Hogan can benefit from that and overcome Crabtree. After that, I think Melvin Gordon and Dalvin Cook are a relatively even matchup. I give the slight edge to Gordon there. And then, Connor versus Peterson, I give the edge there. Even, they're playing Cleveland. He's not Le'Veon Bell, but I think that he's a suitable replacement. Rudolph versus, Tim Burton's a nightmare at Green Bay, I think Rudolph's going to have a great game. I'm confident there. Robbie Anderson versus Robert Woods. I think Anderson can do fine. And then really actually one of the strengths of my team, which, kind of always goes under the radar, but Zerline was a great kicker last year, and Jacksonville was getting Nick points left and right. He was Nick's best offensive player, the Jacksonville defense. So, so look, I have a strong defense and I have a strong kicker, and I think that actually might make up some points for Matt Ryan's disgusting performance and might help us edge it out, but I don't know. That's my thoughts on this game. I think it's actually a coin flip at this point, and I'm very frustrated with the way that the season has started. But go ahead.
Well, you have Snake Bit at quarterback. You just can't get a quarterback to do anything on your team. And both of us now, after this horrid opening performance, are projecting to get the lowest points in the league. It's a battle of the basement already.
Yeah, but at least you had your kicker going.
Yeah, you're 117 to 122. I mean, even the auto drafting teams are rated higher than that. It's pitiful. But yeah, so obviously the two for Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins, they better score a 4-touchdown performance between the two of them, because otherwise we're sunk. And if anybody gets injured, we're screwed. So we're playing off of Dalvin Cook and Deshaun Watson coming back from ACL injury, which is a very tough thing to recover from. What is this, Adrian Peterson's 5th team in 2 years? And then the nightmare before Christmas is supposed to be the latte pick, bust out tight end. But Kuberski's throwing things. He's not exactly Joe Montana back there. And I don't know. And then Crabtree, there's nobody else in Baltimore to get the ball. I just did it sheerly on volume. See if it doesn't backfire.
Yeah, well, obviously we're each going to pick our own team. So, Nick, what do you think? You're actually the neutral party in this.
I like Gabe's team here. I think Watson does much better. I think New England. I mean, I feel like we say this every year. Like New England just looks worse and worse. But this season also just. I think what we saw in the Super Bowl too with benching Malcolm Butler. There's just some issues that I have with New England. I think they and I think Dave and you were texting about this offline, but yeah, they get by because they play a very inept division. So they rack up 6 wins immediately. New England always gets successful because they're going to have home games in December and in January because they play a shitty division and they get wins built out. Houston, I think, is going to be a tough game for the Patriots. I think Watson, that Houston defense gets better. J.J. Watt comes back. He's worked great in the preseason. Jadavian Clowney, I think, is going to have a really good year. I think they play really well. I think I think Brady's going to have some trouble, and I think that as a result, that's partly why I don't think Hogan has that great a game. I don't think he's that great a receiver, and I think Brady's going to get harassed. I think he's going to get his ass thrown on the ground. And I think to that end, I think Watson plays well. And I think Hopkins. I don't even know the corners at this point for the Patriots. Their best corner they let go to Tennessee in Malcolm Butler. So I think Hopkins runs all over the field against them. Crabtree's probably the best receiving option in Baltimore. Obviously, their quarterback situation is a little questionable. With Flacco still starting over, they have Lamar Jackson, the third best, their third quarterback on the depth chart underneath Robert Griffin. Dalvin Cook I like a lot. I think Dave, you were saying Cook being one of the guys you were targeting at the auction. I felt the same way. I think he's going to have a great year. He's also coming off an ACL tear too. Playing up against a 49er defense that isn't that great. Adrian Peterson, you never know. Arizona's defense is pretty good. They're on the road in Arizona. But Peterson may be solid in that game. Robert Woods against Oakland, that secondary is better. But that Raider team, for as long as I paid attention, they just have a problem with deep threat, and that's what Robert Woods is. I could see him getting a couple of deep, just he passes off and getting to those 12 points that are listed here. The Baltimore game, it's funny. You said the Jacksonville defense, doing you a favor this season, and I think that's still true this week. And I think Eli Manning is a turnover machine. I think Jacksonville may get 1 or 2 interceptions off them. Baltimore has a pretty favorable matchup. Baltimore's defense has actually gotten better. They play a Buffalo team that offensively, I think, other than LaShawn McCoy, I have no faith in them, their ability to move the ball. And Baltimore's home. I actually think that matchup balances out with Jacksonville having a slight advantage as opposed to on a regular week where Jacksonville does a lot better. I absolutely think Zerline has a great game. If the Rams offense plays well, obviously I think Zerline's going to be able to field a lot. Not for a lot of extra points into field goals. Hopefully not against my Raiders defense, but we'll see. But I think, the problem is I think one of the best players on your roster was Matt Ryan, and he didn't have a great game. So you kind of already put one of your best players forward this week, whereas Davis got he's got his 3 best players have yet to play, and I think automatically they're slated to be in a good situation. And like I said, this is going to come down to that Houston-New England game, and I think Houston rolls over New England this weekend.
That's interesting because I actually didn't view Matt Ryan as one of my best players. I actually viewed him as one of my worst. But fair assessment. I mean, even before the game, I'm saying he's not even my starting quarterback normally. So, but I mean, fair assessment. I'm just saying it's interesting that that's how you look at it because I look at it exactly the opposite. All right, one of my worst players actually went to go play already. I knew that I was gonna have a problem with quarterback this week anyway. But interesting. I mean, fair point. All right.
Here's the question: do me or Dave crack 100 points this week combined?
I think you both get over 100 points. It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting because I think Fuller being healthy. Same thing. I said this about Hopkins. The same thing about Fuller. I don't know who the hell the Patriots are going to put up against Will Fuller. I had Fuller last year And just, I think plays really well. I think they're a really good tandem. Chris Hogan, I think, again, the Patriots like to throw short. Hogan becomes their primary receiver until Edelman comes back from suspension. No, I think both of you get over 100 points. I think just that you edge out Dave.
Interesting. All right, well,
now, I could be, of course, I could be wrong, and James Conner may set the world on fire on Sunday, and that may push the Steelers to just absolutely completely lowball Le'Veon Bell at that point.
I mean, that's possible too. I mean, yeah, but these are all the mysteries of the first week of the season. You never know. Which is why I hate the fact that I'm playing Geese this first week. But whatever. Such is life. All right, moving on to the next game. Unless there's anything other commentary about this.
Nope.
All right. Let's do Black Ice versus the Mighty Whalers. All right. One of the auto draft teams before he's made many moves. So Goff versus Mariota. You seem to like Mariota for some reason. I actually don't mind Goff. This is a surprise, especially against Oakland this week. And Mariota versus Miami. It's kind of, I don't know. I feel it's kind of a wash. Tyreek Hill, I don't like versus Antonio Brown, especially I think Antonio Brown against Cleveland does really well unless that weather just becomes ridiculous. Baldwin, I don't like. I don't like Demaryius Thomas. I don't like Henry. I don't like Mixon. I don't like Drake. Kamara is good, but the question about Kamara is whether or not he can sustain the heavy workload with Ingram not in there. And because I mean, you saw like last season when Ingram was out and he had to play initially trying to bang in between the banks, he got injured. That's actually how Geese, Geese will talk about this, but that's how he beat Miner that one time. He got knocked out of the game really early. So we'll see, but I mean, he's playing Tampa Bay, who sucks. So obviously Kamara is going to be good. Ertz with only 9 points, but 9 points out of that crap game is not bad for him. I think he'll still do better than Tyler Eifert, although we'll see if Tyler Eifert makes a comeback. Landry, I don't like. I do like McCoy in this game. I like McCoy in general. It's just a question of whether or not he'll still be there. Boswell versus Butker, and the Minnesota defense I like much better than I like New Orleans. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Whalers winning this game. I mean, he has at least 2 players three maybe. 3 players in this game that I think that will do well. I actually think in this one, Miner's best player already played and only got 9.8 points. But your thoughts? Anyone? Bueller?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, this year, Miner didn't have the luxury of a great auto draft from the computer. I mean, this lineup is just. You can't even dump. I would have dumped the whole team. I would have pulled the Hagglers, just put the whole team in the trash can, and just started over from scratch. But Jared Goff against Oakland is pretty good, but that team is all girlies all the time. So unless he's throwing it to girlies, who cares? Whatever he does, girlies going to power that team. Tyreek Hill, I mean, there's just too many weapons in Kansas City. There's too many weapons. They're all fast. They have Sammy Watkins. They have Hill. They have Kelsey. They have Hunt. I mean, I don't know if Hill's even going to – he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. And you got Mahomes throwing – who knows? We know nothing about Mahomes. And then you got Demaryius Thomas, who just drops every pass. That's become what he's known for. He drops everything. Plus, you got Case Keenum throwing, so that's a question mark. And then you got Henry. Henry. And then they got Deion Lewis in there to take touches away from Henry. Drake Cates gets the curse of Al Gore. Once Gore gets on your team, you're screwed. He takes just enough touches away from the starters to ruin both of their careers. And then you got Ertz with that offense on Thursday was a joke. Neither of them could get I felt like Jim Moore. They couldn't make a first down. They couldn't run the ball. They didn't try and run the ball. They couldn't pass it. It was a laugher. I was embarrassed to have the kicker. Okay, I was embarrassed to have the kicker, let alone the great Zach Ertz. I mean, he was responsible for a stupid boneheaded penalty. It bounced off of his face mask for an interception. He was sorry. To get 9.8 points was a gift. I don't even know how he managed that. And then Jarvis Landry. I mean, Miner's basically fielding the Cleveland Browns team, and then a bunch of cast-offs. And then Boswell, that's missing Jamie's favorite kicker. The Minnesota defense may save him. I mean, that might be his best offensive weapon is the Minnesota defense this season. And then the bench. I mean, is the bench even worth a putrid bench littered with Cleveland Browns and Clay from Buffalo? Are you kidding? I wouldn't touch anybody from Buffalo. Alfred Morris was surprising. That screwed Dave over also. The auto draft managed to screw Dave late with no money left.
Yep.
And then he's got to do something about Alshon Jeffery. How long are you going to hold? I mean, with this team, why not? You might as well start him with this lineup. Yeah, this is a Miner always just spins drawing to goals every season. So I'm going to keep a close eye on what he tries to do to salvage this team.
Yeah. But I certainly don't. No, go ahead.
No, you first go.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think it's. I mean, he always does those Sunday morning moves that it's like, huh. So we'll see if he could salvage this week. I mean, we'll see what he could do to salvage the season. But this week, we'll have to see what he wakes up on Sunday morning and does, because right now it's not looking good. But go ahead.
Yeah, I like the Raiders a lot here too. Goff on Monday night. The Raiders obviously now bring on I forgot the defensive coordinator from Cincinnati, but Paul Gunther. They seem like, I mean, in the preseason they really didn't see many starting quarterbacks, but as a year that they have looked improved, obviously the big question mark is not had Khalil Mack, but they moved Bruce Irvin to defensive line, so they're going to get a little bit more pressure. They got a lot of young defensive linemen in the draft, so I think that's a better team, but I do agree with Dave that that's really about Todd Gurley. Although Goff, I think, may do well if they're just throwing a lot of short passes to Gurley and some of those receivers. Tyreek Hill gets lost in offense. Pat Mahomes, I mean, interception machine in the playoffs and in practice, and we're going to see how that goes. And I think they're playing a good Chargers team this weekend, so I'm not sure how well Hill does. Demaryius Thomas, I think that's just a bad situation. I think it's a bad contract for Denver, so I have no interest in Washington at this point. The rest, that roster's just trash. I don't see anything redeeming about Lamar's team as it currently looks right now. Landry may do well because, I mean, you're going to have Tyrod Taylor. It's a good fielding team. I think he gets rid of the ball quickly. Landry's a phenomenal PPR receiver, so I think that there's a benefit there. Minnesota, I think, is going to roll over San Francisco, so I think there's a good chance there. So there's some potentials in this team, but on the other side, I think Mariota, he's projected 20 points. I think that's about what he gets. I think he does throw 2 touchdown passes, runs for like 40, 50 yards. Antonio Brown, I think, does well this week. Doug Baldwin. Yeah, I mean, Denver's secondary, they lost to Keith Lee. They traded him away to the Rams. So that means very likely Chris Harris goes on. Baldwin, I don't know how good a match that is. Joe Mixon, I think, plays well. For personal reasons, I can't stand Joe Mixon, but I think that Indianapolis is not good defensively. I think Mixon plays well. Kamara, we've been talking a lot about how bad Tampa Bay is going to be for a few weeks. With his backs, I think Kamara does well. That's an injury waiting to happen. So those 9 points, like if he gets 3 points, I'll be impressed. I have no faith in Tyler Eckler whatsoever. McCoy is the centerpiece of that Buffalo offense. So if they're going to have any success against Baltimore, it's going to be through McCoy. So I think he does well. I actually take McCoy over Landry. I think he edges him out in points this week. The kicker for Kansas City, I have no idea. I think Kansas City is going to kick a lot of field goals. For Los Angeles, Joey Bosa is going to be out this weekend, but they still have Melvin Ingram. They still have a really good defense. So I think Mahomes is going to have some trouble. I think this is actually going to be a really challenging matchup for him. So I think they're going to settle for a lot of field goals, actually. And the New Orleans defense, this is the weekend this is the weekend you take New Orleans' defense, because I think Tampa Bay is, under the helm of Ryan Fitzpatrick, is just absolutely pissed for. So I don't think this is close. I think the Whalers actually beats Miners by, I'm going to estimate like 20 points.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a consensus here on all of that. I mean, first of all, the original projection was 139 to 128. Since then, Miners just dropped a few points. So, Yeah, I think we're all pretty much in agreement that we're going to go with the Whalers in this first week. All right, let's move on to your game, Nick. Lightning Rods versus Nicky Baby. This
what's funny is that it's funny because originally, it was projected up at 132 for me and 127 for him. It's now edging him 135 and 132. So even with a 40-point lead, he's still projected out only 3 points ahead of him. Because after Julio Jones, this gets rough for the Lightning Rods. Lamar Miller, just Juju Smith-Schuster, Jack Doyle, Allen Robinson, the second lead, a good receiver, but I mean, Mitch Trubisky, I don't think is a good quarterback. Justin Tucker, and then you've got the Rams defense, which I think the Raiders, even if the Raiders get behind, I think their part throws it to keep them in it. So after Jones, I'm not sure who else on this team is going to step up and be able to really contribute. Brady's projected 24 points. I'm not sure he gets it. I mean, it's a really good question if Houston has the ability to take away those short receiving routes that the Patriots like, those run routes that they like to run. That's a question of the linebackers for Houston. But Brady, I think, is the last chance he has of keeping this competitive. And then on the other side, I'm pretty confident that Rodgers, Gurley, and Elliott all have a really good week. I think Kupp takes advantage of the fact that the Raiders don't really have a good slot cornerback. I think Leon Hall might be. I think maybe their nickel corner against Kupp, and I like Kupp in that matchup. So, I think we pull this out. I mean, it's a great lead. Julio had a phenomenal game. But I think the rest of the way, I like Jared Cook over Jack Doyle. I like Randall Cobb over Allen Robinson. The kickers, I think, almost cancel each other out. And I think Green Bay's defense has more success than the Rams do against the Raiders. So, and I would say that considering that obviously Aaron Donald's been signed, and Donovan Sue is there. They've got Keith Talib, they've got Marcus Peters. There's a lot going on there, but they are a team that is susceptible to the run. I think the Raiders have some success with Marshawn Lynch. It's a much better Raider offense this year because I think John Gruden and Greg Olson, I think, have a much better offensive plan for Derek Carr than I thought Todd Downing had last year, who shouldn't have been given the offensive coordinator job in the first place. They were much better off, obviously, with I forget his name, but the previous offensive coordinator had the past 2 seasons. Lynn Carr played much better. So I think the Raiders offense does, come back to some form. Whether it's as good as 2016 or not, I don't know. But I think a lot of the matchups this week, I find favorable to me. But again, who's to say? I think I do, despite the lead they have early on, I do think I come back and pull this out.
I mean, the interesting thing is that Julio Jones was projected to get 20. He got 28. So it's not even... I mean, even though 28 is really impressive, particularly since he didn't even get a touchdown in that game. I mean, it's still not even that much. And Coleman just got 1 point over his number. His was bolstered by his touchdown. I mean, I don't know. I think Brady does better than you think he will. But I think Aaron Rodgers does really well. I mean, I think he edges out. I think it's going to be a close game. But, Miller, Doyle, Robinson, they don't impress me. And I do think that the players that you have there are enough. Especially Shepard, I think, will do okay. Even though the Jacksonville defense is good. But I think that the Giants are going to have to come from behind a lot, actually, in that game. So there's going to be a lot of passing, which might help you. I'm going to give you a slight edge, but not, there's nothing. It's close, I think. I don't know, Geese, what do you think?
It's very. I mean, Nick is going to ride his horses, obviously. It's Nick and Jamie's team from last year.
Yeah.
Antonio Brown, Brady, and Gronk, and then whoever else they can piece together.
Yeah, that's largely what it is. It's pretty much that. It's like, he has 3 guys, just like they had 3 guys, and we'll see how those 3 do. And I think those 3 have pretty good matchups this week in order to do well. So I think,
Nick should be called. He should change his name to he's 3-manning
Yeah, he's got so many options. Third man. Call yourself the third tit. You could be the one from Total Recall. That could be your logo.
I mean, there's no way Cooper Kupp goes up against Julio Jones. Cooper Kupp's going to get 28. He's not going to sniff 28 points. Come on.
No, but Todd Gurley is gonna blow Lamar Miller away, as is Ezekiel Elliott.
I mean, Zeke played Carolina. That's not easy.
Yeah, but he's their entire offense.
Chicago with Khalil Mack. Now, this could be very interesting, I think, because 2 out of Nick's big 3 horses have tough matchups.
Gurley doesn't.
No, but Rodgers does against the new Khalil Mack loaded Bears.
I think Elliott's the only one with a reasonably difficult matchup out of them. Rodgers will do fine. I'm not worried about him.
Yeah, Elliott, it's important. It's important to know Elliott. For Dallas, they're starting centers out. I mean, he's got an illness. He's not playing right now. That's a major shakeup to the offensive line. So we're going to see the effect it has on Elliott. And then Carolina, obviously they're all about that linebacking core. They keep it competitive. So it will be interesting to see. I feel like that's going to be a game where Elliott's going to be a little touchdown dependent, and I think that's going to be what carries a lot of his points. I don't know how well he is in the passing game, because the receivers for the Cowboys are just garbage.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think Prescott had good a quarterback to begin with. So I think Elliott, may get a couple additional passes out of the backfield that may bolster his points. I think realistically this may be a situation where Gurley exceeds his projection and Elliott either may hit it or maybe slightly comes under. Rodgers, that's a good one. I don't know. I think the offensive line, the left tackle for Green Bay, I don't think he's ready for Khalil Mack. So I think that changes it. But I think, Rodgers is a really athletic quarterback. I think he gets the ability to stretch plays out. He's got some good receivers, and I think they have an opportunity to do well. Not to mention the fact that I think Trubisky's just not good. So I think the Bears' defense will get tired, because I think the Bears' offense is not going to really be able to successfully move the ball.
Yeah.
Look, let's not forget how many teams last season, with the domino effect, were demolished once Rodgers went down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there was Nick, your team, but then there was a ton of other teams in our league that went down. Now that he's back, I think he actually makes a difference, which is why I think that I give a slight edge. I mean, look, I this one could go either way. This is the closest one that I think that we've predicted so far, but I'm going to give a slight edge to Nick.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Nick's big 3, probably. You know why these horses will win in this one.
All right.
Plus, I'm not going to ever vote for the Lightning Rods after that quarterback shot to give me off, knock me out of the playoffs. Guys really building quite a rivalry here.
I know you do have quite a little animosity towards Gaten Kazmir, especially
unbelievable, this guy,
including with all the center balls that we've lost because of that guy.
This guy. That's all I'll say right now. Is this guy.
All right, let's look on. All right, let's move on to Nick and Jamie versus Tillett Trey team, the other auto draft team, who's already got 18 points. Well, he's got 18 points from his defense and kicker. So okay,
that's a microcosm for his season.
Yeah, but almost all of his points came on one 80-yard field goal.
Still, I'm saying he's doing better than I thought he would be at this point. In fact, his live projection was over his original projection, so good for him.
Go, Jim.
Go, Jim. So, Newton versus Roethlisberger. I'm going to give the edge to Newton. Golden Tate and T.Y. Hilton versus Mike Evans and Amari Cooper. Jeez, I don't really like any of those guys. That's an impressive collection of bad wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton could do all right with Andrew Luck back, but we'll see. I don't know. Does anybody like any of these receivers?
Obviously I'm the Raiders fan here. Unlike last year, where the Raider offense wasn't based on moving Cooper between the slot out to the wide position, where he really does benefit playing that in that way. John Gruden's put a premium on making Amari Cooper the premier receiver for the Raiders. Obviously, in the PPR league, I think he's going to get. I'm going to predict probably like 9 or 10 targets on Monday. And it'll be interesting. If he's moving around, it'll be interesting to see who trails him. If it's going to be Aqib Talib, who I don't think speed-wise can keep up with him. Marcus Peters, I think, is a better athlete, but I think will bite on anything. And I think, Cooper has Cooper and Carr have a really good ability to put a double move on someone and be able to, break one out for a touchdown. I think Cooper gets more targets. I think now the big question is, can he, hold on to the ball? If he's dropped, will be the problem. I think they move him around a lot more. He may even get 1 or 2 runs out of the backfield. I think they're going to make him as a premier offensive weapon in the passing game. So I think he played a lot better this season overall. It's a tough matchup against the Rams. I'm not that excited about him. Do I think he does better than Hilton this week? Probably. No. Yeah, no. You know what? Yes, because we're a PPR league. I'm going to say yes, because I think even Cooper gets 7 catches for like 50 yards or something. I still think it tops off what Hilton's going to probably get against Cincinnati. Mike Evans, a lot of great potential there. He's got Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing to him. New Orleans is going to be all over Evans.
And he has stone hands.
I don't think he does well. Huh?
And he has stone hands.
Yeah, Evans has a bit of a problem with that too. I mean, that's a fair assessment. Golden Tate against the Jets. I don't know. Dave, you know the Jets better than I do. I don't know how good their secondary is. I don't even know who's playing quarterback now. So Tate, I think, may play well.
I am a fair weather Jets fan. I don't. It's the same kind of thing with all of the teams that I like currently over the last 5 years. It's just, which is why I've been so into fantasy football and all these other sports, because my teams are terrible, and occasionally I wake up and go, wait a minute, this team's doing all right. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm certainly not paying attention to what's going on. It's the same thing with the Mets when they made the World Series in 2015. I woke up in like August and was like, wait a minute, they're actually good? I had no idea. Maybe I should watch this. So yeah, don't ask me what the Jets are doing or who's on them. I know they have the guy from USC, the quarterback, and their last USC quarterback did so well with his butt fumble. Whatever. I don't know.
I think usually they make that big splash. They didn't do that.
Nick and Jamie?
Well, they got Gronk.
That's not that big a splash, though. I mean,
they always have Gronk. They always have Brady and Gronk as their quarterback, and then they make that big splash, that Antonio Brown-like move. Kareem Hunt, I don't know if that's a big splash.
It's not. I mean, look. So Kareem Hunt versus Saquon Barkley. That's an interesting. I don't know. I actually think Kareem Hunt is not. I mean, look, he was great last year, but there were times when he wasn't. And Andy Reid liked to do weird things where he'd put in other players here and there. I mean, it's weird. And then he's playing James White, who could do well, but I mean, New England. I mean, they already have Rex Burkhead. There's so many other running back mouths to feed, and I just don't trust New England that much anyway. Like, they could have the grocery store clerk playing slot. I just don't know. I mean, somebody could show up late for a meeting because they got stuck in traffic, and Belichick is just, you're done. You've been cut. So I just don't like playing with Patriots on this. I mean, but Hunt will do okay, and then I just don't know about Barkley. I mean, he's supposedly a god. Are you a god? I mean, we'll see. Carlos Hyde doesn't, whatever. I mean, Gronk obviously will get some targets, and probably should do better than Jordan Reed. He's playing 2 tight ends. He's got Jimmy Graham also playing. I mean, what is going on there?
Playing Jacksonville? Come on, that's tough.
What did I say? What?
Saquon going up against Jacksonville is tough.
I know, I agree.
That's a tough week 1 matchup.
Oh yeah, and then Burkhead's on the other team. So you got White and Burkhead, and this game is just... I know, this is altogether a mess. I mean, what's going on? I mean, first of all, they also have Edelman and Jones. I mean, look at their bench. It's like questionable, out, suspended, Prescott, and doubtful. I mean, they don't even have anybody. In week 1, how do you not have anyone to even put on? I don't know. I mean, what an upset. Let me just say, what a gigantic upset that would be if Tillett Trey wins this game.
And Tillett Trey has the old jet.
I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Tillett Trey's going to win this game. Yeah. I actually don't think Nick and Jamie has that good a team. Hunt. That's all they have. Hunt and Gronk. I'm picking Tillett Trey team.
With Carlos Hyde and Reed and Burke, you're going after those guys?
Jimmy Graham sucked. James White is, touchdown dependent. I don't know about T.Y. Hilton, Golden Tate, Cam Newton. I mean, no, I'm doing it. I'm saying it. I could be totally wrong, but I don't care. I'm going out on a limb. I'm gonna walk the plank.
You will go alone. I'm taking. You're going alone. I'm taking Nick and Jamie. Even with that lead, which is actually a pretty sizable lead considering how close these two teams are. I think Cooper has a tough matchup. I think Barkley has a tough matchup. Evans obviously doesn't have a quarterback. Roethlisberger. I don't know what that. Cleveland, I think, is going to be a better team this year. So I don't know what to expect there. I think this is a situation where I think in some other weeks this matchup may be a little more beneficial, but I think Tillett's team draws a lot of tough matchups, and I think that's going to hurt them a lot. And on the other side, I think Cam plays well. I think Golden Tate does okay. Hilton, I think, will turn out fine. Hunt, I'm not quite sure against that Chargers defense, and Gronk, I think, is Gronk. So, yeah, I think this particular week, I give this to Nick and Jamie.
Okay.
I can't go. I mean, Saquon has a tough matchup. Evans has a tough matchup because they'll probably put Lattimore on him. Still a Trey. I mean, his superstars are tough matchups, and the rest of his team are pure manure. and the whole bench is a jet. So I gotta go Nick and Jamie on this.
I mean, I understand exactly what you're doing, but I probably agree. But I like the fun of going out on the limb on this one and rooting for an upset. I probably will.
Just put it this way: if you went with Tillett Trey and this was like Yahoo Sports Survival, you'd be out in week 1.
Oh yeah, I would not pick Tillett Trey in this survival week. Absolutely not. My lock for this, if I was doing survival, I'm doing the Whalers this week. Whalers over Minor, that's my pick for that's my lock of the week. But anyway, we'll get to that afterwards because
we have to track that. That has an interesting opportunity.
We'll do that afterwards. But okay, we have one more game left. Let's see if that actually changed my calculations. You have Dave's Secret Crush versus the Millennials. This is actually already a fascinating game, being that Jay Ajay got 20 and 13 for Aguilar. So the Millennials already has 33.70 points. His original projection was 132.03. He's now at 135.76. Dave's Secret Crush original projection was 144.21. His live projection is 134.98, with Devonta Freeman only getting 8 points. So let's see. Where do we see this one going? We have Kirk Cousins versus San Francisco versus Russell Wilson at Denver. Michael Thomas versus Tampa Bay, and Keenan Allen versus Kansas City, against Odell Beckham versus Jacksonville, and Thalian versus San Francisco. We already had Freeman. Now he's got McCaffrey going versus Dallas, and Howard at Green Bay. Kelsey versus Delaney Walker. That's actually an interesting matchup. And then Clam Crowder versus Aguilar, and then Prater in Detroit versus Lutz in Denver. I don't know. Where do you guys see this one shaking out?
I mean, it's good matchups. I think think Beckham plays okay, but it's going to be a great match against Jalen Rams this week. I think Thielen does okay this week. Russell Wilson's always been a pretty solid quarterback in fantasy. It's a good Denver defense that he sees. This is the same thing. I mean, I think the Millennials have a good lead to start with. But I think Cousins plays well. Thomas plays well. Same thing, Keenan Allen, McCaffrey. I think the big thing is I think after Ajayi and Aguilar, where you're looking for points from, I think they're going to be hard to come by. I think Wilson and Beckham, have tough matchups this week. They're both, Wilson Beckham on the road, but I think it's not as favorable. I think Cousins, Thomas, Allen, and McCaffrey, I think they all have a good chance of just working out well. And not to mention, Delaney Walker. So yeah, I give the edge to Eugene here. I just don't see. I mean, even Kelsey. I mean, that's a possibility, but no, I like too many of the players on Eugene's roster.
Geese?
No, the 3-10 Millennials are certainly getting ugly in the first week with 20 points from Ajayi, 13 from Aguilar. And I don't know, Secret Crush. Freeman had a flat tire with 8 points. That entire Atlanta offense was poverty. McCaffrey, that trade may just salvage a win for him. If he didn't have that, he'd be in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
Walker, Clam Crowder's a non-factor. You just cancel him out of the lineup. Walker's all right. Allen and Thomas are a strong wide receiving duo. Cousins in Minnesota against San Francisco. I mean, other than Richard Sherman, I don't know about the 49ers secondary right there. I mean, but on the other side, Beckham's going to get blanked by Ramsey, or that'll be tight coverage all day long. And then you've got Thielen covered probably maybe by Richard Sherman, depending. If he plays big for him, that's a tough matchup right there. Jordan Howard is like, he's the same thing every single season. Like, he'll have one great game. I don't think it's going to be against Green Bay. Healthy, that's a question mark with that offense against the Chargers, who are really good on defense. And then the Denver defense is not what it used to be, but neither is the Seabags, actually. So I'm going to take, because of the tough matchups on the Millennial side, I'd say Eugene squeaks this one by. But it's not as dominant as his normal performances that they were last year.
The interesting thing is, the Millennials last year, didn't he have a game like where the Thursday night game, didn't like Amari Cooper get 40 or 50 points in like one game?
Ridiculous.
And then he lost because of how bad his lineup was on Sunday. Didn't that happen? Right?
Yep.
I'm remembering that correctly, right? That might happen again. I don't know. So it's fascinating to me that the computer thought Aguilar was already going to get 13.5. Ajayi outperformed himself at 15. He was supposed to get 15. He got 20. Look, Crowder sucks. Delaney Walker versus... I mean, that Delaney Walker deal might actually just be the slight boost. You're right. Because Kelsey will do fine, actually, in this game. Ooh, this is a tough one. I mean, look, if the Millennials pulls this out, it's gonna be because of Clam Crowder as the flex. That's the only thing I'll say. But I don't think that he pulls it out. I think that Dave's Secret Crush slightly edges him in this game, and only because of the matchups, really, for this week. I mean, Tampa Bay, Kansas City, Jets, Jets, yeah. I'm gonna go slightly to Dave's Secret Crush, but I would not be surprised in the upset in this game. Okay, so let's. I think that's all the games, right? All right. So who is each of your lock of the week? I've told you mine is the Whalers. Anybody else have their choice for lock of the week?
lock of the week. Ooh, I guess I'll go first.
Go for it.
I'm actually going. I'm going Gaza for the lock of the week. What?
Really? That's insulting, but okay.
Sorry. I mean, I look at the rest of the roster. I think Gordon may play well. Again, I think he actually plays pretty well against Kansas City, but the rest of the way, I have a lot of questions. And, I mean, I'm looking on the other side. Watson and Hopkins against a shaky New England defense. Dalvin Cook, I think, will play well. And, I think those are some pretty heavy hitters. And, Matt Ryan obviously isn't your best player, but, that's a major underperformance. And the rest of the way, I'm not quite sure, other than Gordon, where you expect to see a lot of points come from. So I think Gage would be my lock of the week.
Interesting.
Wow, unexpected.
That is unexpected, but okay. Interesting. All right. Geese?
Dave's like, all right, slap in the face. I'll take Whalers over Black Ice Dynasty.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the obvious one. But sure. I mean, it's the only game first of all, it's already like a 62% to 38 just now. And Miners already had his best player. I mean, I'm sorry. I may lose, but I don't think I'm lock of the week territory, but fine. Whatever. Especially when you have this shit show out here, but that's fine.
I partly said it because, the easy pick is Lamar, but I think this Jason has a pretty good chance, too. It's not so much that I think your team isn't good in this matchup. I think it's a very good chance that Jason wins it. It's not so much about your team overall. I just think this particular week, especially with the way Ryan played it. Yeah, he's good. It's more you suck.
Yeah, it's more that you are terrible, and okay, well, who's your pick for upset of the week? I guess if I pick myself, I'm almost in this category at this point since I'm anti-lock. Obviously, my upset of the week is Tillett Trey.
Is it? I think it's Millennials of the regime.
Do you? Yeah, that's a fair one.
Tillett's a good one. That's a really good one.
Why don't you pick me as the upset of the week, and you can have both the lock and the upset.
There you go.
You cover your bases.
I don't know. You know what? Let's see here.
I actually like
let me pick the under.
What?
No, go ahead.
No, I like Gaze's pick for upset of the week in terms of the Millennials versus David's Secret Crush. It could be. I mean, that's actually, it's a coin flip for me between Tillett Trey and the Millennials, but I guess since I'm the only one that's out on a limb on that game, I might as well go full bore into it. But I think, the other one, I think Millennials could pull off the upset there. But go ahead.
I don't know.
I'm also fascinated in the way that you look at my team. Clearly, we have different perceptions of my team. I mean, I don't think I'm great, but you're looking at it very differently than I am. But that's interesting.
I don't know. I'm overthinking this. I may go Tillett too. I think this is actually a pretty good week for them.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that's about it for everything. Anybody else have any questions, commentary, concerns?
We're a little more than 12 hours away, gentlemen.
Yes, we are.
I know. I have to get Red Zone back on my TV. I think I took that off with the sports package from Verizon. So like every other person in America with FiOS, floods their number tomorrow morning. It's like, oh shit, I have to upgrade my package again. So that would be always fun.
I think I have DirecTV now, so I think mine is included or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's built into that package. I'm jealous of that. We're probably going to get away from. I think we may cut the cord in November when our contract is up, and so I'm going to have to figure. I'm going to get real creative about getting NFL games at that point. But
I got the cord a while ago, and I still watch. I still watch games. The only thing is I'm on a slight delay, so Geese and I will oftentimes watch games and like talk to each other, which we did on Thursday, by the way. And so he has to pause his TV in order to so that we could watch it at the same time. But the interesting thing is so the other day he's like, and Tevin Coleman has I don't know, whatever, 14, however many points he had. He's like, when did that happen? And then he scores a touchdown, and it's like, oh, because Yahoo is slightly ahead of where my TV is. So
yeah, I don't even know how much I'll have my phone on me if I'm just looking to get updates throughout the day. But it gets tough to block out that much time, especially now Audrey's old enough where. If the TV isn't on something she's interested in after a little while, we're about to have a problem. So I may have to make tomorrow a longer day and have runs out in the basement. But I'm mostly gearing up for a long night on Monday. Because the Bears are going to go well until like 1:30 in the morning, and then that's going to make Tuesday a rough day. But that's the game I'm obviously going to pay most attention to. But no, I'll just get updates throughout the day. So, but I'm excited.
Thankfully, that's one.
That
is one advantage of being in the Pacific time zone. I don't have to stay up late for any of this. I'm going to be watching most of the games tomorrow. Got to wake up early for the.
Holy shit, Nick! You only have one person going at 1 o'clock, Sterling Shepard. The rest is like either Sunday night or Monday, except for one. So all your points, your opponent is going to be. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 out of the 9 will have gone by 1 o'clock. So by 4 o'clock, you're going to know what you're up against.
Yeah, I always like that. I always like the opponent. Like if it works out where it's like the other person gets that lead, like get what you can now. Because I think Aaron Rodgers Sunday night, that's perfect. Like I will make an effort to try to. Have on my phone or something. But
that's
a lot of them go later.
That's actually the one game that I'm not going to be able to watch because I'm playing hockey tomorrow at like 5 something out here, which is 8 something out by you guys. But so that's the one game I won't be able to watch. But the rest of them I'm going to be up and ready to watch. Probably with Geese on the phone. Go ahead.
I think Carolina. I'm very likely Carolina Dallas will be the national game. So we'll probably get that here. So I may be able to get that.
I mean, the only game that I really feel the need to watch is the New England-Houston game. Because for my purposes, that's the only one that really matters.
7 out of 9 players are playing in either the Green Bay Chicago game or the Rams Oakland game. You better hope either of those games are rained out.
Although I will also say this, by the way. So last year, the interesting thing about the New England Houston game was last year. That was when I first saw Deshaun Watson. In fact, I think I was talking with Geese on the phone for that game, and I said to him, "Are you watching this quarterback for Houston in this game? This guy's ridiculous." And I think that was that Tuesday that you went and picked him up right after that. So there's certainly potential for Deshaun Watson to have another ridiculous game because he did that last year, and that was the first time that I think we saw it. So, all right, well, all right, gentlemen, it's gonna be a short week in terms of this. We're gonna try to get the podcast back up on Wednesdays as it's supposed to be. It'll be back to the normal format next week, where we'll go review last week's games, and we will look forward to next week's games. Other than that, it's great to be back. I'm really excited. I can't believe that we're already back here. Yeah, exciting. Exciting. Season 6 is underway, and I guess good luck to everyone out there.
And on a side note, thanks everybody for getting your league dues in, even though it was literally last second.
I like that message about, like, man, if you don't get your shit together, your team is locked. You get no. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on yourself.
Well, it worked.
I did. Listen, that's one of the things I don't miss about being commissioner is not haggling, obviously, but like people are fucking ridiculous at $65.
Yep. Well, yes, thank you everybody for that. And have a great night, everybody. Good luck tomorrow or whenever you're listening to this on Monday, mocking how wrong our picks were. And a special hello to Eugene, because I know you're definitely listening to this at the office. And sorry that we didn't spend that much time on your controversial trade that's not even controversial, that nobody gives a shit about. All right. Love you all. See you next week. Bye.